Cheers, fella. All the best. Have a good day. Let's jump in and talk about the night shift. I had the night shift a while back now. It was in February. Had it for 3 weeks. Probably in that time was only able to ride it for about a week as I was away, and also the winds were so bad you didn't dare go out on a bike. In that time I still managed to rack up a couple of 100 miles and get a feel for it on back roads, on motorways, on A roads, just normal high streets. So I've got a good impression of how the bike felt. And one thing I did was actually I asked people on my Instagram under one of the posts and on stories to ask me some questions. What do they want to know about the bike? Right, so the first question is, how does it compare to my current bike, which is still after 3 years, literally 3 years to the day, I think. It's the Ducati 62, the Scrambler 62, the baby of the Scramblers with its 399cc engine, 41 brake horsepower. The 62 is a wonderful bike. It's a great sort of A2 bike. It's fun around the back roads and for little blips here and there. But on motorway riding and anything like that, it's a nightmare and it's exhausting. So looking to the bigger brothers, the 803cc engines, the night shift is just superb in every way. It ticks the box, it does everything the Scrambler 62 does, just better. With more modern components, looks, power, you name it. It is everything I want from a bike. Going back to the 62 after being on the night shift was, it was sluggish. It just didn't have the same oomph. And it was a real eye-opener about how much I liked that bike for the short time I rode it. This or a Bonnie? Good question, and one unfortunately I can't answer because I've never, in my 5 years of riding, ridden a Triumph. But the plan is to get on a Triumph one day and have some fun. In terms of styling, I think the Ducati Scramblers are the best looking Scramblers on the market. So as a Ducatista, or however you pronounce it, or whatever you want to call me, a Ducati fan, I'm going to go for the Ducati every day. How does it cope with bad roads? That's a good one. Everything about it is designed to be an urban machine. It can handle bumps. You're going to come across potholes, you're going to come across weird cambers here and there, and the bike can handle them. The suspension on the front isn't adjustable, which is a shame, but it can handle bumps here and there. It absorbs them pretty well actually, but if you are hitting some of the biggies, then yes, you're going to feel it, and it does knock wind out of you sometimes. I didn't do any sort of dirt tracks or green laning or anything like that in this bike. You just wouldn't. With that flat bar, it's not designed to be used in that way at all. So stick to the roads and you'll have a good time. Is it easy to ride? Yes. Scramblers are incredibly easy bikes to ride. They're beautifully easy. You can just jump on one, get a feel for the biting point. You're used to it in a matter of seconds. They're just such wonderfully easy bikes to ride. With that flat bar, is it a low drag bar? Is it just a flat bar? I don't know what you'd call it. You might think, oh, it's going to be quite difficult with those bar and mirrors to filter. I went into London countless times on the night shift for shoots, to go meet people, bits and pieces, a bit of work here and there, and would filter pretty much the entire way. It's got plenty of torque, enough to get you out of any danger. It pulls away at the lights beautifully fast, and even if you're say in the wrong gear going around a roundabout or something, you can still get out of there and it's not going to choke up and conk out on you. It's very comfortable to ride. The bench seats, I've never had problems with Ducati seats at all. The longest journey I did was going to London XL for a show. So I took all the North M25 and on the way back all the South M25. I rode goodness knows how many miles in that day at high speeds at 70-80 miles per hour, and it was fine. It just sat there comfortably, had the power to get past people when I needed it to. Quick dabble on the throttle and you're gone. So yes, it's a very easy machine to ride. Is the stock exhaust any good? Yes. It's Euro 5 compliant. As the Euro rules become more and more strict, stock exhausts are going to lose a lot of their character, unfortunately. For just a stock exhaust, it has a nice little rumble to it. It's a nice little rumble. When you just turn it on, it fires up well. You have that distinctive L-twin sound. The bike, when you're rumbling along at sort of first, second gear, low RPM, it likes to gurgle. if you really are dropping down a few cogs to get the revs up and then going, the tone completely changes. So it has a lot of character to it. It's got some depth to it. It's got some meatiness to it. I lose the catalytic converter, the large airbox, all of that, and just have a straight pipe from the headers all the way to the slip-on, or even a full titanium exhaust, and then the L-twin just comes alive. No, for a stock exhaust, it's a great job. You wouldn't necessarily have to change it, but I think it's nice to have a bit of a louder machine so people can hear you. It can be quiet at times. Then again, there's that other argument of when you're in a quiet environment, you don't want to have a deafening bike which is just very obnoxious and it doesn't fit in. It depends what kind of rider you are. I know a lot of people have exhaust and they take the baffles out, and I think it's really rather obnoxious. You want an exhaust which can fit into both environments. The stock exhaust does that. It's quiet when you need it to be, and ride it in a certain way, it will open up and have a nice tone. So they've done a really good job, but everyone likes to add their own little spin to their bikes. Everyone likes their own little character, so it's undoubtedly that anyone who gets one is going to put an aftermarket exhaust. I probably would too, but you don't want to go too garish. What would you change? Honestly, I don't think the bike needs it. You look at each individual component, the spoked rims, the flat cafe racer seat, the LED indicators, the fine LED indicators, they look superb. The same ones on my 62. The flat bar, the finish on it all, just it looks great. The tank, the contours of the tank. Now when you look at a certain light, especially some of the shots I did on my Instagram at sunset, it just captures the light perfect. You can see there's ever so slight contours in there for where the legs and sort of knees are stuck in. And I just think stuff like that, it just looks so good. The styling of the bike is just brilliant. You don't need to change anything. Just again, following on from the last question, the exhaust, if you want to give it a bit more character and make it your own, but you don't need to change the paint job. That's all black, stealth looking bike. It's just brilliant. Daytime, nighttime, you just look like a boss. What is your favourite styling detail? Love the spoked rims, the wire spokes. I think they just have a lot of class when you see a bike with wire spokes. It's always something I wanted to do to the 62. The tracker, so on the side of the bike, which is unique to the Nightshift, I believe, they've got one of those number signs for flat tracking, you know, where they put the number panel on the side. They've got that. And I just think that's a really cool feature for hiding bits and pieces, and that's actually where you insert the key. On the left hand side, you insert the key behind one of those to open and release the seat to open it up. They look cool. I imagine some people probably would actually take it to the next step and put numbers on the side to really give it that tracker feel. I wouldn't do that. I just like the all black and I like the colour job they've done, the spec of it all. The wheels, the seats, they all come together to play their own individual part. And the bike, when they are added together, is just undoubtedly one of the most beautiful bikes on the market at the moment. You cannot say anything bad about that bike. No one in their right mind is going to call the Nightshift an ugly bike. They've just got the styling on point. So in terms of what your favourite styling detail is, it's difficult to pick just one because everything comes together to create the perfect bike. Is there anything you didn't like? No, not at all. It's comfortable, it looks the part, it has a good sound, good fuel economy. It shows you on the display your mileage, how much your range, how much fuel you've got left, all of that bits and pieces. It's got a gear indicator. I don't think any of that needs to change for the Scrambler. It's not like the Monster, which had an insane TFT and looked awesome. It wouldn't work on a bike like this. It's just not necessary. So it's got the revs and everything. That's all fine. Nothing needs to change. As it is, okay, if you really wanted to, you could change the suspension, but I think that's a big job. If you're riding on the street and you're riding around town or something like that, you're not going to have a problem whatsoever. It's absolutely fine. Would you own one? Yes, in a heartbeat. In fact, so I was the last person to be riding that press bike. It had a few people before me, and when Darren came to pick it up, Darren's the chap who drops, delivers, does all the work for Ducati UK, lovely fella. He said to me, this bike's getting auctioned off, and this is what Ducati UK do, and I'm sure all manufacturers do. They have these press bikes, and after a certain point they need to get new models in, so they auction off the old ones. And I was so interested in the bike that I actually got in contact with my two people at Ducati UK and said, look, I want to put an offer forward on this because I love it so much. Yes, it's second-hand. Yes, it's been used by other people and I don't know how they rode it. It's definitely a bike I'd have. Definitely add one to the stable. Yeah, so the Nightshift, it connected well. It resonated well with me. The week of the 3 weeks I had it that I managed to actually ride it, I loved every second of it. What exhaust would you go for? If you know my 62, you know I always rave about Zard, who are again an Italian brand, so Italian and Italian, they work together. It makes perfect sense. And the Zard is a beautiful tone, beautiful note. You can't take the baffle out. If you take the baffle out, you're just going to be getting arrested. It's just, even at sort of 10 miles per hour, it's making people deaf. So the Zard tone is probably one of my favourite. People tend to also go for the Akropovic or Akropovic, I never know how to pronounce that. Julie's dad has an Icon. I think it's a 16 plate Icon, and that makes a good noise. When he fires it up, you're like, oh blimey, that's loud. I like the styling of the Zard, the conical styling. Other people put on Competition Works. They're tucked just behind the foot peg, I think. They don't go as far as the rear wheel, or they're only just touching the rear wheel. So it's a different styling. It's a shorter exhaust, and I think that can look really smart. So, in fact, what's he called? Gorm Moto. Everyone knows Gorm. I think he's about 100,000 followers now on Instagram. He has a Competition Works on his full throttle, because he has a Scrambler full throttle, and they look great, and I'm sure they sound great, but I want the Italian, which is why I go for Zard. So I'll probably put Zard on it. How was it with a pillion? It was fine. It did the job. It was comfortable. Ducati Scramblers don't have the longest of seat. They're fairly short. So riding yourself, you kind of position yourself in the middle of the seat. As soon as you get a pillion on the back, you're going to have to shift forward, which means your crotch is on the tank, your arms have a different bend, maybe putting more weight through the wrist. It's a different riding style. I wouldn't want to do it every day. And then you notice when the pillion gets off and it's just back to you solo riding, you're back in the middle of the seat, and it's just so much more comfortable again. You can do it with pillion. It's got the power and torque and whatnot to handle the extra weight, but it's the actual riding itself which isn't as fun as when you're doing solo riding. How tall am I? I'm 6'1", just over. Was it comfortable? Yes. Didn't have any problems on my long rides. Comfortable sitting down, nice bend in the knee, flat-footed. I'm 6'2". Would I be able to ride it? Yes. If you're 6'2", this bike is fine for you. You're not going to get uncomfortable. You're not going to get pain in the knee. Long journeys, the seat's comfortable. It's good length for the arm. It's all very well me saying this, but you may as well just go and find the bike and jump on one if you can and get a feel for it yourself, and you'll know within half an hour, 40 minutes, whether it's going to be comfortable or not. But for me, riding along, putting the foot down at the lights and stuff, it was easy. Lovely and comfortable, didn't have a problem. What would I change if I had? I've already said that. And how's the suspension for a 160-pound man? Well, I'm 85 kilograms. So that puts me around, 180 pounds? My maths is dreadful at the moment. So this person, 160 pounds, is probably, 70 odd? You'll be fine. The front forks aren't adjustable, but the back has preload adjustment. Give it a few turns, change it around a bit, and you'll be absolutely fine. Just, again, if you put a pillion on the back, you're going to want to be changing that preload. But it's nothing to be concerned about. Honestly, the Nightshift was a real joy to ride. Thank you so much to Ducati UK for sending me that bike and letting me try it out for 3 weeks. It's unfortunate that we had the worst storms in the last however many decades, and I was in Paris for my anniversary with Julie whilst I had the bike on loan. Loved every second of it. I loved the way it made me feel. I felt like an absolute boss riding that bike. The way I'd see people's heads turn, it was a big ego boost. It was just never a dull moment. You'd come out the house and see the bike parked up there and just be like, oh, I'm going to be riding that for the rest of the day. The Nightshift was so much fun. For a 803 cc, I think again mid-70s horsepower output, you're going to be having a lot of fun on this bike. Go and get one. Go and enjoy it for yourself. Try it out for yourself. You won't regret it. Anyway, that's I think I've been talking for quite a long time here, so thank you so much for tuning in. Please, if you've got any more comments or questions that I haven't answered in this, just let me know in the comments below. Look forward to talking in the next video. Well, not the next video, but the bike I have on loan now from Ducati UK is the Desert Sled. And this is a 22 plate, so it's literally brand new. I think it had about 100 miles on it when I got it. And I'm enjoying this bike a lot, mainly because it's so much taller. It's a very different perspective, feels different riding it. I am enjoying it, so I will be doing one of these for the Desert Sled as well, so keep your eyes peeled. Thanks so much. I'm the British Motorbiker. Bye bye.